Welcome. We are excited to be diving into captions that connect. On this week's episode, we're going to be diving into the CTC formula and how you can utilize this today inside of your salon right away on social media.
Yeah, so you maybe have seen this on social media, or maybe it's even been you, because I know I've been here before too. Is like you think so hard about, hey, what can the caption of the day be? You got this beautiful piece of artwork, this beautiful piece of hair that you want to showcase, and then you come to the conclusion you're just going to say, new color, brownie blonde brunettes. Are you ready for the fall? And so we're not saying that that's wrong, but today we're going to help you to really have a formula so that you have 3 points that you want to capture when you're writing your captions, so that you can draw people in. Because at the end of the day, when you're creating captions, people really want to know, hey, what's in it for me?
hmm And like Jen mentioned, we're gonna, dive into some stuff. Again, this doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means like, hey, it might not be quite as effective. So the first thing that we want to talk about is what not to do. And really what this leads to is just ineffective captions, like captions that don't make somebody want to take action or they feel, overly salesy. I think one that we see a lot inside of our industry is like opportunities available or openings this week or book now or offering a discount for booking. I think this can be just ineffective. And the reason why I think that this is ineffective is because it just feels impersonal. It feels pushy, and a lot of times it's just really truly lacking that emotional connection. And I think social media, a lot of people go there to look for connection. It's kind of like you're hot wiring human connection. It's not always that real thing, but people are looking for some kind of connection. And when it's just like, when it feels like they're just reading a billboard of book now or here's what's available, it doesn't often entice them to take the action that you really want to see.
Yeah, I think about it too. It kind of feels like very salesy. And so
Mhm.
people don't know it, but they don't usually like to be sold to, especially if they don't understand, hey, how is this going to make a difference in my life? So I love that you said book now. I think one time I read something that said, I see you looking, but you ain't booking. I was like, oh, okay, this is
That's
good.
funny.
This is good. So, like, again, I've
Oh.
said some weird stuff before too with captions. So this is no blame on
Mm,
anybody. It's just to help you paint a new opportunity or new possibility to say, hey, right now we need some new clients in the salon space. So how are we upping our marketing game? How are we upping our caption game to really draw in the right clients?
yeah, I think another thing that can happen too is, like we often think about what it is that we want to consume on social media and we forget about what it is that our consumers want to consume on social media. And so sometimes we can even get a little jargon heavy, stuff that would make sense to another stylist. Like, we just did a balayage on level 8 hair and used an Olaplex treatment. And, that might be super cool. But to a lot of people that are reading it, they're like, I don't even know what the French I just read. Like, this made absolutely no sense to me. And so, the average client doesn't understand that technical language, but what they do understand is like how you could help them create a transformation. And so, of course, I too am guilty of, using captions that are ineffective just because you sometimes get there and you think, "Ah, what am I going to do? What should I say about this?" You do get stuck a lot. So we're excited to really dive into, what are some effective ways that you can communicate with your clients on social media or potential clients to turn them into your clients right away.
Yeah. And I think the first thing that you probably want to explore before you start creating these captions is to know who your salon avatar is. Like the more detailed you can get about it, the more you'll be able to speak to that audience. So, like what are their biggest hair challenges? Like where do they love to shop? Like what age are they? And, I just read something the other day that says when you're thinking about age when it comes to creating a salon avatar, like don't have it be like 40 to 60. Like if you can have it within a 5 year time span, so like maybe 40 to 45, it helps you get more clear about your marketing message because it is going to look a little different if you're speaking to a 40-year-old versus if you're speaking to a 60-year-old in some aspects. And so I think once you understand that, that helps you create that clarity in creating that CTC formula.
I love that, because we like to really dial in deep in this inside of salon business school and, go as far as to give them a name and know where they shop and all of that stuff, just because you want to know their tone and their voice. And so that you can create that warm and conversational environment where you're really reflecting what it is that your brand wants to portray. And so, it really does just help you to kind of engage with that right person. And of course, you're going to attract people outside of that. But when you really get clear on that, it really helps make the salon branding super easy and, just feel kind of effortless the next time you go to write a caption.
Yeah. I think it's also good to share with your team too once you have that avatar in place so they understand like who are your top guests that you serve or who is the avatar that you want to serve because it helps them in their marketing messages as well. Because I've been guilty of that too. Like I knew who our avatar was, but not communicating it to the team. It just created that disconnect. And so when you're able to connect the team and what your visions are as a salon owner, I think that's where magic really happens at the end of the day.
So good. And so let's dive into the relationship triangle because this is going to be that secret CTC formula that we've been talking about. And you can use this inside of any relationship, just so you know. But of course, we are in the relationship building business. And so this triangle works in anything that we're doing from, attracting the right guests on social media to, keeping those relationships with your team members and your guests when they get inside of the salon as well. And so the first C in CTC stands for communication. What is your communication like with the person that you are with? Are you able to, relate to them? Or is it open? Do they feel like they have the opportunity to be heard? And, are you creating that dialogue to where they really feel like they're winning and you really feel like you're understanding, what are their desires? What are their wants? What's their hair goals or their skin goals so that you can really help them in that journey? What is your communication like?
Yeah. And I love that you made the point of like it being so clear. Like think of it like you want to be able for a fifth grader to read that and it makes sense to them. So a lot of times, like Lindsay was saying earlier, we'll use big words like the balayage or the shadow root. And it's not that those words are wrong, but sometimes a lot of times the clients cannot relate to that. So like, keep it on a fifth grade level, like keep it simple, professional and clear. And I think that's where you get buy-in. And I can't remember, Lens, do you remember the app? Is it Hemingway app that you can actually put sentences in and it'll tell
Yeah.
you, it's Hemingway app, right? It'll tell you actually if
Yes,
you
I
put a
believe
sentence
so.
in it. It'll tell you like, hey, this is a 10th grade level or this is a third grade level or whatever. So just an idea for you to try out every once in a while is just say, hey, like, is this really going to be this? Is this message clear? And am I communicating it to the masses so that they're really picking up what we're trying to say?
Yes, yeah, it's so good because I think, too, when we're in the luxury business, sometimes, there is a little bit of confusion about like how do you create that luxury experience that you still connect with people. And, you know, I think that that app is a key player to really make sure that things are landing the way that you're intending for them to. And so once
Mhm.
you've nailed down that communication piece, the next part of the relationship triangle is trust, you know? And so trust, for us is, do you share the same reality with somebody? Like, are you able to create that trust with them? And a lot of times for us in our business, this really happens a lot inside of the consultation, but there's still ways for you to make that happen on social media, and even just explaining to them what they can expect when they are with you during your visit, explaining more about what a consultation looks like with you, or just looking for ways to create that shared reality. And I think that this is also helpful when you have a newer team member who's maybe fresh out of school. They could potentially be younger. Anytime anybody's serving somebody that's above that 12 years or below that 12 years of their age range, when you're focusing on building trust, the last thing that you want to do is like put a person between you. And so what that could look like, for example, would be, if you're Once upon a time, I was a 22-year-old stylist, and
Mhm.
I'm sure I was working with a 45-year-old, and so it was easy for me to relate that person to my mom, and compare them to my mom a lot, and say, oh, my mom likes to shop there, my mom, whatever, and that is one of the things that actually can kind of corrode trust a little bit. It seems a little counterintuitive, but it truly can corrode trust, just because they start to view you differently. They don't start to they You're no longer the expert in their eyes. And so I think that that's kind of a key element to building that trust, is to create that shared reality with them and look
Mhm.
for things that you do share in common, because it doesn't matter the age, the gender, anything of somebody, you're going to have some things in common with them. And so it's looking for those, creating that shared reality. And of course, the main reason why they're there is to experience your hair or your skincare or whatever that is. And so building trust by really uncovering their problems and helping them find solutions is going to be the key to that trust factor in the relationship triangle.
Mhm. I love that. And when you're writing captions on that too, I was just thinking about trust. A great way to introduce a new team member would be like, "Hey, meet Lindsay. Welcome Lindsay to our salon, or welcome Lindsay to Salon ABC. Lindsay loves to create an experience that's calm, happy and positive. Check out what, and then insert a client testimonial. Check out what Jen said about Lindsay. And so that also helps to build that trust. So, and if you're like, well, Jen, they're brand new, they have no clients, like let them shampoo and blow dry and style out another team member and have that team member write a review for them. So, like, testimonials are a great way to create that trust connection, because most of the time, as consumers, a lot of times we will buy just because we know our friends have bought there. And so, or they
Mhm.
have given a good feedback about a place. So we want to go there. If you've been to a restaurant, your friends talk about it, like the next time you go out to eat, that's going to be the restaurant that comes top of mind for you. So I think, using testimonials helps create that trust.
So good. And the third portion of the relationship triangle is the connection piece. So we've got communication, trust, and connection. And so connection is truly, do you like somebody? Do you feel connected to them? It seems like a really simple thing, yet it's so profound. Like, how do you build that connection? And I think, really having that clarity on who your avatar is that you're trying to serve. When you are coming up with a caption on social media, you'll know some of their biggest pain points, So if it's, for example, a busy mom, you might say, like, hey, are you a busy mom that is looking for a highlight over lunch or a root touch up over lunch or whatever it might be, something. Think about the avatar, think about their biggest pain points, and then try to create connection with them so that they're like, oh my gosh, that's totally what I'm looking for. It's like they read my mind. I feel super connected to them. It's like you almost can't even figure out why. But it's like you've uncovered what some of their biggest pain points are, because I think also, too, it really does help, when you're with newer team members. I think sometimes it's like the deeper understanding of our time is money, and like how do we get quicker at things that we're still feeling like we're giving an exceptional experience and we're delivering on our mission and what it is that we're trying to create, but also understanding, like, hey, this is what our avatar's desires are. And a lot of times, the salon companies that we work with, their avatar is usually a busier person, but they have a lot more money to spend, and so finding ways to create connection with them. And hey, you might uncover your avatar is a little bit different, but looking for that connection piece is going to be huge.
Mhm. And I think telling a story too, like Lindsay was saying, I love that idea of telling a story to be like, hey, Jen came in, like if you post a picture of a new look, Jen came in a before and after, that would be a great way to create connection. Jen came in feeling blah about her hair. 3 hours later, she walked out glowing. What's your dream transformation? So you're asking them a question, which
Mhm.
is going to create that enrollment. And I'm like, oh yeah, I am ready for my dream transformation. I'm ready to, go from what Jen did to love that before and after. And so that really helps to build that rapport with the client.
So good. And there's so many ways that you can think about utilizing all three of these, like especially on your story. I think trust is one that pops up, just thinking about like showing, kind of behind the scenes things that are going on with your team. I think that that builds trust because you also have to keep in mind, like, hey, you're probably trying to attract new team members as well. So it's not just your clients that are going to be visiting the salon, but it's also new team members. Like, did they see themselves in your environment? And so you can really build the trust, and also for them to create that connection. Like, okay, I do, I love when I see, them in the back room, or them, mixing color or having fun together as a team. I think there's a lot of ways that you can build all three of those elements so that you really can win on social media.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think after you have the communication, the trust, and the connection, like you can have a call to action because a lot of times guests or clients need to know, what do I do next? Hey, I love what they're saying here. How do I book an appointment? And so just making sure it's easy and accessible for them to say, hey, this is exactly the action step that I need to take to book that reservation with that salon.
Yes. And, I think even remembering to add that into your bio is huge, like making it really easy for people to book, because usually that's what you're trying to capture from social media is that booking. And so if you make that easy and you create that connection on those posts or on those stories, people are naturally going to find it, but just make it really easy for them to find so that they can't wait to visit you next.
Yeah. And this is a great exercise to do with your team as well, especially someone new starting out. We have actually a branding class in our training program for people for our trainees to go through and kind of create their salon avatar, make sure that it's going to marry well with the salon avatar, help them create their Instagram bio. So again, it's a healthy marriage with the salon. And I think, that really helps you set them up for success. I mean, we just had our branding class like last week, I think it was, and we helped one of the girls in the class, get her bio set up. She manifested her ideal avatar. And it's so crazy. The next day she was like, Jen, you'll never believe, like I got to serve my avatar. And she's like, I didn't even know this was possible. And so it really excited her to like, hey, the more clear you become, the more you can communicate your message. And usually that's what you draw in.
Yes. I love that. And nothing better than when people get an instant win. And so, we would love for you to get an instant win today. We hope that you implement this CTC formula right away and you start to see the connection, the communication, the trust that is built on the other side of this. And you start to really, fill up your books and see your dream, your ideal guest more.
Awesome. All right. We'll catch you next.